know him from the brutal battles of BKFC and Ice Wars. But today we're going deeper. We're talking mindset, mental health, and what it really takes to stand tall when the world feels heavy. Let's get into it. Catlin, let's start here. Competing at the level that you do takes a massive toll, not just physically, but mentally. What's your relationship with mental health been like throughout your fighting career on the ice?
Mental health is definitely probably the biggest battle in doing this. I mean, just from like I mentioned about training, you know, you don't know if you did enough of it, and that plays a part, and then the fight comes, and you know, there was times where I tell my wife, like, I don't know if I should be doing this, like I'm not doing enough, and here I am getting up at 7 in the morning, go hit the gym, go to work, right after work, go back to the gym, you know. It felt like I wasn't doing enough, and you know, you go right to fight night where the pre-fight jitters start hitting, and those are the worst because it's almost like you start panicking. You know, the mental health of it was huge, and you know, I had to just keep telling myself that I have a lot of people behind me. And you know, never think that you're not good enough in anything, because you just never know until you actually do it. And you know, doing this, I hope to prove to a lot of people that, you know, reach as high as you can, because no one else is going to do it for you but yourself.
That's awesome to hear. You've been under the spotlight at some pretty intense events like BKFC Ice Wars. How do you manage that kind of pressure when everything's on the line?
Most of it would be remember who I'm fighting for. And I fight for not only my family and my wife, but especially my boys. You know, I want to show them that, like I said, the sky's the limit. And, you know, do your best in what you do. And doesn't matter what it is, you gotta make sure you put your work in. And, you know, there's always that end of the time.
Was there ever any moments in your career when things got dark mentally? How did you pull yourself out of that space?
You never actually pull yourself out of that space. You almost learn to live with it and use it as fuel for your fire. And that week and a half, I was in a pretty dark place, and I use it as fuel just to make sure that I'm not using it as negative energy. You know, turn it as into the adversity makes you stronger.
Now, bare knuckle fighting isn't just about throwing punches. It's a mental war zone. How do you mentally prepare to step into that kind of arena with no gloves and nothing to hide behind?
You know, that's exactly it. You know, once you're in that ring, there's only you and the other guy. The only way I'm going to get out of that ring is through that guy. And that's how I had to prepare myself. You know, there's only one way out. It was through that guy. Either he goes through me or I go through him.
Everyone, even the best, faces self-doubt. How have you learned to deal with it before stepping into the fight itself?
Yeah, like I said earlier there, it plays probably the biggest part of it all. I mean, think about it now, I think it was more fuel to my fire, right? Like, even though I felt like I wasn't doing enough, I was. And, you know, with my brothers, you know, we laughed about it now, and, you know, I was punching their arms out of their sockets, and they weren't showing me that. So I felt like I wasn't hit it hard, but I mean, if they were wimping around, crying, then I probably would have felt a little tougher.
That's awesome to hear. Gotta love the sibling love. So, did you ever have people around you, friends, family, coaches, who didn't believe in your path? What impact did that have on your drive or mindset?
You know, of course it did, you know, and I never fed into that kind of stuff because everything I did in my life, I did it on my own, you know. I always remember when Mom says if you count on somebody to do something or be there, you know, there's gonna be that disappointment sometimes, right? So, you know, once in a while that would get to me, but in the end I thought, you know, I'm doing this for me, there's no one else that's gonna wake me up and feed me, you know, I'm gonna make sure I do me, and, you know, I don't eat it, I just gotta make sure I got it.
Now, for the younger fighters out there, or even fans out there battling self-doubt in their own lives, what would you say to them right now?
Just never give up. Like I said, you never know what you're capable of until you get yourself out there. You know, it's a scary world out there. You know, there's scary guys out there. I guess I'm the scariest of them all, though. But, you know, like I never give up. You know, you're gonna do you, regardless of what you're doing, you know. It helps, definitely helps having a backup, but definitely get out there and make the best of it, because life is short.
Mental health in combat sports is still something that doesn't get enough airtime. Why do you think it's so under-discussed?
Because a lot of the combat sport is for males, and I always believe that it's tougher being a male, not only that, being a native male in today's world. And, you know, we want to make the best for our family, and sometimes we can't do that. And, you know, I always believe we gotta enjoy the little things that we have.
There are fighters out there dealing with depression, anxiety, and burnouts, but they feel pressure to look tough. What would you say to them?
Don't worry about it. You know, if you stepped in that ring and you did, you know, that's like unbelievable stuff, you know. You train for a fight that, you know, yes, you're going to be on TV, yes, you fight in front of millions, but never in my life I thought I'd be a main event. And that was just, I don't know, way more different, I guess.
All right, now last question, Catlin. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Not just as a fighter, but as a man who faced his battles inside and outside the ring.
I think exactly what you said there. You know, I want to just prove to everybody that, you know, I'm just a res kid making a name for me, and, you know, when I do this kind of thing, seeing all you guys here makes it all worth it. And, you know, I'm still on cloud 9 on this, and I don't think I'll come off for a while.
That's the kind of insight you only get from someone who's walked through fire and come out stronger. Catlin, the Chief Big Snake, thank you for opening up and showing us what real strength looks like, mind, body, and soul. Thank you, Catlin.